What else would I be doing, Stormy? Yeah, I'm surprised people don't. Well, I get the ball joke. I've been getting ball jokes since I was like 17, but yeah, I do. I mean, you can clearly see it. Like even in this shot of me right here, you can clearly see there is a good patch right here, and then there's tons back on the side. I just don't let it grow out. I could let my hair grow out, but I would look like a 60-year-old college history professor. Like I would just need the bow tie and I'd be good to go. But yeah, I do have hair, but I've been losing my hair for a long time. But I don't think I'm ever going to. I honestly, my hair loss has been pretty much like this for about a decade now, honestly. So it's not. I don't think I'm going to lose much more. But I'm never going to shave it all off. So that just looks weird. She definitely prefers bald gun. 'Cause she's the one who gives me haircuts and is the one who suggests, like, hey, it's time we need to give you a haircut. So I think she prefers it a little bit shorter. I am both bald gun and hair gun. The alpha and the omega. Mario. Hello, Luigi. Yes, this is that episode. We're getting it out of the way today. I love that you... Oh, you love that I have it at the bottom. That's left. What do you mean? Oh, you corrected yourself. Nice fix. What's up, Rush? The hub for competitive Splatoon news? Isn't that what Splatoon news is supposed to be? I think those guys are on hiatus, though. Splatoon news used to, like, retweet everything I did, Popcast-wise, which was awesome. Splatoon music's very good. That is for sure. On the way to the airport, where are you going? Is it move-in day? In West Lafayette? Moving in before Lowing. Got to make sure you get that Purdue University Wi-Fi for your Lowing tournament. That's a that's a bad omen. Should have stayed home over the weekend. Yo, Ty Ustervu. Ty works. Awesome. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify. While you're pretending that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars, campaigning for people to give you votes into +3 or 2 or 1, which is going on over the course of this weekend. Waiting till the last possible minute to register your team for Low Ink, despite the several warnings I have given you not to wait till today to do it. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Hey, today is the deadline to register for Low Ink. Exemption requests, I believe, have already closed for the second straight month, and nobody has put in an exemption request. Yay! That's awesome. That means we don't have to debate things. The bad news about that is, if you have anybody on your roster that is Div 4 or above, they are automatically going to be denied from this point forward. I have been keeping an eye on the registration. Some teams did have that case and should have put in an exemption request and didn't, and are going to get some not so good DMs over the course of today. And I mean, the thing with exemption requests is that we need time to verify people. Like we need to like debate things as a staff. It's not just one person making a decision. It's like, hey, what does everyone think about this player? But if you give us no time to do that, then we're just going to auto deny everything. So this is the day I told you guys that so many people are registering, which is fine. I get so many people are registering, and registrations are coming in hot today. It looks like we're going to get to about the 80-ish, 90-ish number that we're usually getting, but yeah, a lot of you have been warned, and I'm assuming I'm preaching to the choir here, because if you're in chat, you most likely have already registered for Low Ink, but so I'm talking to nobody here at this point. But yeah, frustration on our end is going to haunt some of these other teams going forward. News, tournaments other than just Low Ink that are going on this weekend that you can still register for. Minnow Cup is going to be taking place next week. I believe that is the 28th. Yes, that is the 28th. where Minnow Cup is going to be happening. That is going to be the Rainmaker edition of Minnow Cup. It's good to see Minnow Cup come back. It's been a very active week for low-level tournaments. Little Squid League last weekend, Low Ink this weekend, and then Minnow Cup next weekend. So a lot of opportunities if you are a low-level team to play in events. Mid-level teams, not so much, but, well, that's not my problem. Unless it is. Today, we are going to be recapping, or not recapping, we're going to be previewing Low Ink. Next episode, we're going to be recapping Low Ink, but the tournament hasn't happened yet. So we are going to be previewing Low Ink for the August of 2021. So we're going to be looking at that today. We're going to be talking about a ton of teams. I'm still writing this as we speak. So I think there's some teams I wanted to talk about that I might not have on this sheet yet. So I might freelance a lot of this stuff. I traditionally do these on Thursdays. But as I was looking at things yesterday, I was like, I have no idea who the top 10 teams are or who should be even close to that. So I needed an extra day for A, registration to come in, more registrations to come in, and B, just to give a look a little bit deeper into what's been going on. My team's been recruiting, so my brain's been kind of scattered all over the place. So this is the first ever episode of the Popcast happening on a Friday. Who knows? If this goes well, maybe I'll keep doing it on a Friday instead of a Thursday. If it doesn't, then, well, that's unfortunate. But before we get into all of those teams that I'm going to be talking about, there is something I need to admit. I was wrong. For the first time ever in my entire life, I was wrong about something. This is newsworthy for sure. I said, basically all of last month, that I was fine running Low Ink up against a Nintendo tournament, which we did, and at one point we had more teams than them. Kind of embarrassing for Nintendo. But I said I didn't care that if Nintendo took some teams away from us for that July tournament, because I knew on the back end we were going to get a ton of new teams from those Nintendo tournaments that are going to be playing in their first ever Low Ink this upcoming weekend. So it didn't really matter because A, we still had a great tournament last month anyways, and B, we felt like that Nintendo tournament was going to benefit us more than it would hurt us. That wasn't the case. Little Squid League didn't see a huge bump like I was hoping they would. And it looks like we're going to have the same number of teams sign up for our Low Ink that we've had for the past couple of months. That 80 to 90-ish range, depending on how many stragglers get their registration in over the course of the next 8 hours here. So I was wrong. Now, I think we've caught a couple of teams that have signed up that have only played in the latter tournaments, and I think I'm going to talk about them in the upcoming session, unless there's some more teams signing up now, though, that we haven't caught. But still, there are a couple of teams coming, but not the massive amount of teams that I would have hoped or would have liked to see sign up for this. So what does that mean? What is the takeaway from that as my face gets off my other face? There's several ways you can look at it. The good way, or not the good way, but the way a lot of people are going to look at it, and the way people are going to tweet on Twitter because they know it's going to get a lot of likes, well, this means the scene is dying. If low level isn't growing because of Nintendo tournaments and the casuals aren't coming over, that means the scene is dying. No, you idiots, before those tweets even come out, because it's been like 2 days since that last tweet came out, so that means we're due for another "the scene is dying" tweet to come out. That's not the case here. The reason why we're not getting those same 100-ish to 128 teams that we were seeing at the beginning of the month and at the beginning of the year and at the end of 2020 is more so to do with the fact that we're kicking more teams from the top out of Low Ink than it is a lack of teams from the casual side coming over and playing in the Low Ink for the first time. When we switched over from being a Div 4 tournament down to a Div 5 tournament, because Ludi got a whole heck of a lot bigger and it didn't make sense to have Div 4 teams in low ink anymore, we cut out a lot of teams from the top of the pack. And it took a couple of months for us to slowly weed them out. It wasn't like an automatic thing. You guys know we let in traditional low ink teams for another month, and then non-playoff teams we let in for another month, and then finally just got them completely out of the tournament altogether. But now it's not just Div 5 teams that we're seeing coming out or getting kicked out. Or it's not just Div 5 teams that are all allowed to be playing in this tournament. We're starting to slowly weed out some Div 5 teams as well, because as we're finding out, Div 5 teams are getting better. They're actually improving. Not all of them, but there are, you can see over the course of how they perform in low ink and how they're performing in other tournaments, that teams are clearly not at a Div 5 level anymore. And this is kind of the tricky part of being a TO in low-level Splatoon, is that you have to use Ludi divs as like the line in the sand kind of thing, right? Like you can't cross this line or else you're going to be banned. If you don't have like that set line, this is clearly where the line is, then you're going to be accused of being biased. Well, you let that team in, but you're not going to let my team in. And it's like, well, no. Here's what the line is. And here's the evidence that supports that your team is over that line. If you don't have that line, you're kind of setting yourself up for disaster. So that's why the Ludi line exists as to far as like who is and isn't eligible for some of these tournaments. But how do you truly justify that line when Ludi divs haven't been updated in 4 months, which is where we are at this point? Div 5 teams are not playing at a Div 5 level anymore. Whether that be that they've improved up past Div 5 or gone down below and maybe are a Div 6 or below team at this point. We don't really know because we're not reseeding teams in Ludi. So low-level staff in Low Ink and Little Squid League and Minnow Cup are now forced to basically rediv all of these teams on a monthly basis. With that being said, we are, in fact, kicking out more teams at the top than what we have in the past. And that's how it should be. You shouldn't want to throw or dodge tournaments so that you can stay eligible for low ink until you finally win it. And that's, I can't confirm or deny that is the case, but I would be willing to bet, just by looking at some of these things, that there are some teams that do avoid other tournaments so that they can stay eligible in low ink versus other teams that do go out and do it feels awkward because it feels like we're kind of punishing some teams who do go out and do play in other tournaments like SOS or Testing Grounds or Paddling Pool or Triton Cup or any of that stuff. It feels like we are kind of punish them for going out and trying to get better at the video game, because they are going out and they are getting good results, and we do see that, and then we come back and say, hey, you did really good in this tournament consistently, which shows that you clearly are not a Div 5 team, which means you can't be in low ink. And then they'll be like, well, we want to win low ink, and we're like, yeah, I understand that, but you've had your chance. You can't say all these teams that get banned from low ink, you can't say they didn't have their opportunity, which is kind of scary if you're one of these teams that traditionally make an alpha bracket, because eventually the odds are more likely that you are going to get banned from low ink before you win it. And winning low ink is become something that is like a badge of honor in this community. Yeah, there's a whole lot of people that are better than teams that are winning the low ink, but you can say forever that you are a low ink champion if you win low ink, and that means something. And a lot of people still use that. There are people who have won low ink long ago that you completely forgot have won low ink that will go out of their way to remind you that they are a low ink champion, because they don't want you to ever forget that, because they're proud of that accomplishment, and they should be. But more teams are likely to be eliminated from low ink, not because they win it, but because they grow past it, which is a good thing. So maybe we need to start coming up with ways to incentivize teams to feel good about being banned from low level before they win it. Because if we just keep this strategy of the only way you can see yourself as a non-low level team, as a mid-level team, is by winning low ink, well, guess what? We're only going to produce 12 mid-level teams a year. That makes no sense. You're only one team can win low ink. And if how many months, if we have the 80 teams sign up here and we'd only squeeze through one at a time, how many years would it take? Off the top of my head, it'd take 6 or 7 years for all of these 80 teams to pass through. I'm going to be 38. Can you imagine what my hairline's going to be then? That's going to be we can't wait that long. Who knows if we'll even have a Splatoon 6 or 7 by that point either. So the goal for you guys, and I get this, but the goal for you guys should be to be too good to play in this tournament. And we try to, whenever I have to DM a team and be like, hey, you're too good, I'm not trying to be like, hey, how dare you sign up for this tournament? It's just more, congratulations, you're banned. I and all of the low ink staff recognize you as a really good team. That's something you should be proud of. But I don't know. I'm kind of getting off tangent here of what I was kind of talking about. The problem, though, why we're not seeing a ton of teams sign up for this. Yes, all those teams were kicking out. We're not seeing new blood come in and kind of filling their spots. We are kind of seeing slow trickling in of new players, but we're not seeing the massive amount of new teams coming in that we thought we would be seeing. So what is the future of low ink going to be like? I don't know. It's a one tournament at a time kind of thing. I will say this, though. The viewership for this tournament is fantastic. There are a lot of people that are going to tune in and watch low ink this weekend. Yeah, more so than usual because we have that special announcement coming on at the end of Sunday that you guys will be excited about as well. You should tune in for that, and I shouldn't talk any more about it before I say something I shouldn't. But viewership for this tournament is great. A lot of people will pay attention to low ink. A lot of people that are banned from low ink will come back and watch it, and will get hyped in chat. And I think I saw a tweet by Roundy earlier this week, and I feel like he hit it right on the head as to why low ink is one of the more celebrated tournaments in this community. And it's because so many teams play in it consistently, actual teams, that the audience knows who these people are. And maybe you listen to the podcast and you hear me talking about a lot of these teams, or maybe you pay attention to Little Squid League and you see a lot of those teams, same teams played Little Squid League, to where when it finally becomes time for a team to grow and get up to the point to where they're playing late on the Sunday, the general audience knows who these guys are. They know what the history of those teams is. And they're interested in seeing them versus the SOS tournament. We did I commentated with Skep on Wednesday. Foams versus Pickup. Now, Foams, the players on Foams, and the players on Pickup, but you're not like, oh, well, here's the history of Foams and here's the history of Pickup. No, the team's name is literally Pickup. It's good for those players to be playing in winning SOS, but for the general audience, it's not particularly exciting because it's just a pickup. It's not a team you've seen grow from the bottom. When the Deep Fried Octolings won, you guys knew who the Deep Fried Octolings were because I've been talking about them since the first episode of the Popcast. You could chart their growth from where they were in the middle of last year to where they ended up when they finally won it in June. In several other teams, you could say that. And I feel like this month is going to be another example of where we're going to see a team you actually know playing in grand finals, and that's going to be hype for a lot of people. And we'll get into that in a minute with the top 10 teams. But regardless, however many teams sign up for this low ink, however many teams sign up for the low ink in December, 6 months from now, or 5 months from now, 4 months from now. What am I thinking? let's take a moment to look back at the roots. Where Low Ink was. What did Low Ink used to be before it is the monster tournament that it is now? I pinged Hoenn last night because the first couple of Low Inks aren't even on Battlefy. They were back on Challenge. And here we are. I'm about to show you guys the first ever Low Ink back in, what is this, September of 2018? Yes, so that would make this upcoming August the 36th Low Ink tournament. What did the first one look like? No Swiss, no top cut, just 16. You are looking at it. This is it. This is what Low Ink was. This is the entirety of Low Ink. You got these 6 teams here. You might recognize this team, Twilight Anglers, because this still exists in some form or fashion to this day. But this is, who else is here? We got Splatting Silence, Cephalopods, not to be confused with the other gazillion cephalopod named teams that have come out in the recent years. Squids and Octopi. What is this? Hashtag blame Fanzy. What is Fanzy? Does anybody remember what Fanzy was 3 years ago? Is that a word that's going to get me canceled on Twitch? Is this something that's like banned from being said anymore? Splat Control. Okay, that seems like a very generic name. And the team that won the first ever team to win a Low Ink. Team E. What? And this is what I don't like about Challenge is that so much of it has to be run through Discord. There's no you can't chat to the other team on Challenge. You can't check other people's rosters. Like Challenge is just basically like the example, or it's just like a screenshot of where the tournament is. But like everything basically has to be run on Discord, which I guess some TOs can like. But for me personally, I just like Battlefy because you can just do the whole tournament on Battlefy. I mean, you still need a help desk in Discord, and maybe that's the appeal. It's like, well, you need to run the help desk on Discord, so why not just do everything else there anyways? But for me personally, and especially when we're looking back at this, who is Team E? Nobody knows who Team E is. This could be anybody. So it's like, looking back at these things 3 years later isn't the most exciting. But my point is this. This is what Low Ink used to be. I wonder, and I should have Hoenn on the podcast at some point. I wonder, after they run this tournament, if they ever think, well, at some point, people are going to be saying, wow, Low Ink is only getting 80 teams now instead of 100 teams. Like, it's funny how expectations kind of changes over the course of time. And it works out the same way for your teams. The first time you make a gamma bracket, you're probably really excited. Then the second time you make gamma bracket, you're like, oh, well, we've done this before. Or, oh, yes, we finally made alpha bracket. And you're celebrating and you're tweeting, we made alpha bracket. This feels so great. And then like the 5th or 6th time you make alpha bracket, you're like, all right, this isn't exciting anymore. We want to win it. But it's when you think about, and especially when it comes to improvement, a lot of teams will improve a lot over the course of time, but you don't really recognize it because you're living so much in the moment. How good am I compared to where I was yesterday instead of how good am I compared to where I was last month or 2 months ago? Teams are steadily improving. Tournaments are steadily improving. But as we kind of live in the moment, we're always, well, this is kind of falling off. This is not what it used to be. This is what Low Ink used to be. Okay? So I think we're still heading in the right direction. Things are still getting good. And Low Ink has become a tournament that everybody talks about and everybody enjoys. And people who are banned from it still enjoy it as well. Speaking of how things have kind of changed from the past, there is one more thing I want to address about this upcoming Low Ink, because something has changed last month over all the other months leading up to this one. We did counter picks on Sunday, and counter picks were kind of, I wouldn't say controversial, but it was kind of hit or miss for a lot of people. Some people actually the vast majority of people really liked it. And thankfully, the people who didn't like it explained why they did not like it. So this is after we've met as a staff, I do want to kind of explain at least my thought process behind some of the changes we made to try to make things a little bit better. Our concern with the uh, with the uh, the counter pick system. There it is. Hey, it's Friday for some of us. The problem with the counter pick system that we're kind of worried about is that it would slow down the tournament on Sunday, and that's it's a huge concern because for EU teams, the tournament kind of goes a little bit long, anyways. That's why the incident happened back in March. Um, but we don't want, and I mean, we don't want the tournament to go longer than what it needs to. Now, it wasn't really that big of an issue last month because Alpha Bracket ended at the same time that it usually does for a grand finals that doesn't go to a bracket reset. So it really didn't slow down things at all in Alpha Bracket. And that's mainly because I was in Battlefied chats of all these Alpha Bracket games that were on stream being like, hey, give us a pick. Come on. This don't be taking all day. No, you can't pick that. You already won on that map earlier. Did you forget? Pick a different map. So I kind of had to be like a turd to some people to get things going, but that's kind of how you got to be to get a response. Otherwise, teams are going to spend like 5 or 10 minutes thinking about a counter pick. To be fair, Gamma Bracket lasted a long time. Gamma Bracket lasted like an additional hour after the stream ended. So that's kind of the concern that we were worried about. It's not just the brackets that end up on stream that are concerning. We don't want Gamma Bracket teams to play 6 hours of competitive Splatoon. Now, to be fair, that one went to a bracket reset, and I believe they ended up playing like 16 games. Well, not 16. 12 games, like a 6 and 6 in each of that set. So it was going to go long anyways, but still 6.5 hours is not ideal for anything. Another thing people kind of complained about was the just the counter pick system itself. They felt kind of overwhelmed when it came to picking maps. And another thing people complained about is that the map list last month sucked. Understandably so. So I think we've come up with a solution that's going to fix a lot of those problems. And it was just one very simple change. It's just fixing the map list. I'll take the L for this last month. I felt like because of what Grand Finals was going to be with the rule set of you can only pick a map and mode that you most recently won on, I felt like we needed like 8 maps for each mode so that if you got stuck in a situation of where you could only play Clan Blitz, you have more maps to choose from other than just like a handful of maps that you were still eligible to play on for Clan Blitz. What I forgot was there are not 8 Clan Blitz maps that are actually good for competitive. There are not 6 Rainmaker maps that are actually good for competitive. So instead, what we're doing this time around is a slimmer, sexier map list. One full of one completely void of any maps that any human being could ever complain about. We'll see. But basically, the map list is a lot slimmer, and this does a lot of things. The only maps that are being played in this low ink are maps that are genuinely across the board seen as good for competitive. I know somebody was asking for Camp Triggerfish zones. Stop. That's not what we're looking for in low ink. But number 2, when it comes to counter picking, it makes things a lot easier. Teams aren't going to be as overwhelmed as they were last month, which again, last month was the first time a lot of those teams were probably doing counter picks, which probably added a little bit of anxiety. But when you have less maps to choose from, all of a sudden it's a little bit easier to decide what maps that you want to go with your counter pick. It's like going to the Cheesecake Factory. They give you basically the encyclopedia and say, oh, this is our menu. What do you want? And it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many things. But if you just give your customers a more limited option, we only have 5 things on our menu, but all 5 things are really, really good. Then it makes the decision process a little bit easier for customers and they don't feel so overwhelmed. So we feel like trimming the map list will make counter picks come out quicker. We'll make them a little bit less stressful. And there's not going to be a team that's complaining of being like, yo, really? We have to play Rainmaker, Muscle Forge, Fitness? Really? So unless this comes back and bites us all in the foot, so be it. But I feel like this is going to fix some problems. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I just wanted to point that out because I'm still not 100% set on how counterpicks is going to work. But I'm still convinced that it can work. It just needed to be tweaked a little bit. And again, even with how it was last week or last month, the vast majority of people left positive feedback. So I feel like they're going to like it even more this time around. And no, we're not having Camp Triggerfish zones be in our map list. So stop asking. That being said, it's enough of talking about Low Ink as a whole. That's what you guys are here for. You want me to talk about you. So let's do that. Let's talk about the teams that have signed up so far in this tournament. I say so far. I'm going to check real quick. See if anybody has signed up in like the past hour or so. It says 78 teams. Okay, so we got 78. And then 7 more pending. Last minute pickup is this name of this team. Oh, bless your heart. This is not. Oh my gosh. You waited till today to sign up as a pickup. Literally says last minute pickup. Okay. Oh, you guys better be like all Div 7. If this is the day you're going to wait to do that. Anyways. Teams of note. Basically just a random list of teams in no order that I'm interested in. First off, I want to start off with Vaporwave for one specific reason. There have been, as I was looking at the top 10, teams that I was putting in my top 10, and I was just kind of listing them out and looking over their results. A lot of times, I was looking at these teams in the top 10 and finding that they have been playing Vaporwave a lot, and Vaporwave has been almost beating these teams, like taking them to a game 3 or a game 5 in some instances, and always losing. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize. I keep an eye on Vaporwave, but I didn't realize how close they're actually getting to being a really good team. Like they're getting so close, like centimeters away from knocking off a lot of these higher end teams in Low Ink. They're just not getting the dubs. But so many times I see this and I realize Vaporwave is just a hard team to beat in general. Like they're a very scrappy team. So I wanted to give them a quick shout out. So I was looking at all these things because it looks like they're a team that's just so close to being great. They just can't really get over that hump just yet. But now let's kind of look at some other team names that are, well, I guess they're team names. You got Tupperware, which is Sky's team. I don't know if Tupperware, if this is the first tournament they're going to play together, if this is a pickup or not. Tupperware's logo is I guess I can show this on the screen here. Tupperware's logo is this cat. Oh, great. You pick now to follow, right, as it covers up the logo I wanted to show. Thank you. But this doesn't convey Tupperware to me. But so I still wanted to point out that logo anyways because this I like it. It's just not very Tupperware-y. Total Hacks. Here's what's okay. So Total Hacks itself is an interesting team name. However, this is one of those teams that is coming over from the Nintendo tournament. So cool. That's great. We love to see new teams coming over from the Nintendo tournament. That's the whole point of the Nintendo tournament as far as I'm concerned. However, it is weird that a team coming from the Nintendo tournament is calling themselves Total Hacks. Oh my goodness. With the nonsense that was the Turf War tournament, associating and being a team from the Nintendo Turf War tournament, calling yourselves total hacks is a very bold move to go with. That's we'll see how that turns out. The we wheel game. It sounds like I'm saying we will, as in like we will go to the grocery store, but no, it's we like the console and wheel like on your car gang. So, I hope those teams don't. I hope that team doesn't make it to the grand finals, because that's just going to be a lot of me saying we will gang. I mean, talking like Elmer Fudd if I'm just announcing who they are. I haven't really looked into these guys yet either, so it could be a team that makes it all the way to Gamma Bracket or Alpha Bracket Grand Finals, for all I know. Another team name that's going to be kind of sus, My Lag Paradise. Oh my gosh. It's been a while since anybody's complained about lag in low ink. I mean, I'm sure people have complained about it on Twitter or so, but it's been a while before somebody came to help desk, tried and complain about lag. Or just latency in general. So hopefully My Lag Paradise doesn't actually lag, because I kind of like it when help desk is chill. And nobody's slowing down tournaments to send us stupid Twitter clips of themselves dying behind a wall from a charger. Firefin Flamebacks. Now we're getting back into some of the teams you guys might actually know. And we're going to be going with a huge list of LSL teams that are coming over into this tournament. And that is going to be Firefin Flamebacks, the first team we look at. Team that made gold brackets in LSL, finished in the top 8. And this was the team that was on stream in LSL. In a game 3 where it was tied 1 apiece at Rainmaker Shipyard, and they were able to kind of get the lead on a last-minute push there. So, Firefin Flamebacks, good to see them in LSL perform well, and it's good to see them cross over into Low Ink. Another LSL team coming back into Low Ink has been playing in a lot of Low Inks. Not just Nightshade, but Nightshade X. Ever since they put that X on their team, they've been a stronger team in general. Third in the most recent LSL, going to LSL 14. I believe they got swept in semifinals, but then took care of business to win the bronze medal. Nightshade X, looking to be a solid Gamma Bracket team, if not finding their way into beta. I say I saw a strong Gamma Bracket team because the team that took second place in Little Squid League was a strong Gamma Bracket team. That is Ocean... the Legato, the team that won, did really well in Gamma Bracket. El Legato, the reigning LSL champions. And, we have seen LSL champions come in before and make beta brackets, threaten to make alpha bracket when Mahi Mahi won and then came in the next month and almost made it into alpha with that match that was on stream where Albacore Clams, where they couldn't pop the basket once. Is Legato a alpha bracket team? No, I don't think so. I think they're definitely going to... I think they're a contender to make beta bracket for sure, because when they last played in Low Ink, they made Gamma Bracket and I believe they finished top 3 in Gamma Bracket. So, and of course, they're looking really strong. My wife's team played them recently, and she was complaining about Twig, that really insane E-leader / Octobrush player, which makes no sense. But we'll see how good Legato actually does here. Another team we'll be keeping an eye on, obviously, Ocean 7, the second place team. I don't think these guys have actually played in Low Ink as a team yet. I feel like they've signed up before but keep dropping for whatever reason. They're here now, and as far as I can tell, they haven't dropped yet. So hopefully they do actually play out this tournament, and we'll see how good Ocean 7 actually does. But they look to be on par with Legato. Just came down to a game 7. They just couldn't get the dub there. So yeah, consider them a beta, gamma, upper end of gamma, beta-ish kind of team as well. Another LSL team I want to point out here, Up the Ante. Grace does a really good job. Grace and Sky do a really good job of running SOS, and it's one of the better tournaments we have in the community. It is consistently getting 32 teams. It is reaching the limit every single time that it runs its tournament. and there are still people leaving crazy feedback in the feedback channel, wanting it to become another one of the gazillion double elimination tournaments we have in this community, and just not appreciating SOS for what it is, which is crazy because if you don't like SOS, don't sign up for it. There are plenty of teams that would love to play an SOS that can't because it reaches its limit. So if you don't want to play, bye. There's other teams that are more than happy to take your spot. So, okay. But they put up with a lot of that crap. So it's good to see them actually come out and play. I talked about Sky playing on Tupperware. But Grace playing on Up the Ante has been doing pretty good recently. They played at LSL, made top 8 in gold bracket, and the only team to beat Up the Ante last month was Legato. And losing when the only team to beat you is the team that won the whole tournament, that's pretty good. But it also kind of leaves this taste in your mouth of like, well, what if we played other people? You don't get a good sense of how good you actually do when you can only play the best team in top cut as opposed to some of the other team that might be close to your skill level. So we'll see how Up the Ante does in this low ink. Hopefully they do well. Obviously a fan of them. Dimensions is back. I don't think I talked about this team last month, but when you go 4-2 and make beta bracket, you kind of force my hand to make me talk about you. Their first low ink was last month, again making beta bracket, finishing I believe 13th place is what I saw. And we'll keep an eye on Dimensions. When you go 4-2, it's always that awkward. Well, if your opponent win percentage was just better, if you're the teams you beat or you played against just played a little bit better, things would work out better for you. So Dimensions, if their opponents play a little bit better, they might be in alpha. I haven't talked about Enigma in a while. One of my favorite teams. I feel like they just haven't played in a while. I think last time they played, they went 3-3, got 5th place in Gamma. That might have been June or May. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head, but they've been they're one of those teams that kind of floats around between Gamma and Beta, but they're one of the older teams as well, and it's good to see them play. It's good to see them back in this tournament. Same thing goes for Inkvaders. I'm sorry, Inkvaders Alpha. What makes Nightshade become Nightshade X, and what makes Inkvaders become Inkvaders Alpha? I have no clue. But maybe this is just a stronger version of the Inkvaders. We'll see. Usually Gamma, Beta-ish kind of team. One of the, I would imagine the Inkvaders are the oldest team in this tournament. Old as in when this team was formed. I feel like the Inkvaders have been around as long as Destiny Troops and West Broadway Grillers. And all of us are kind of looking up to Geek Squids as far as age of teams being around, and I guess everybody in the community is looking up to Day Old Sushi. I'm getting off track here. Outcast Ninjas made beta last time they played in June. I feel like I've come close, or maybe I have put them in a top 10 before. The last time they played in low ink, they made beta bracket. So I'm not feeling confident putting them in the top 10 just yet, but I feel like they might be due for a strong low ink. If there's going to be a low ink to where teams that are traditionally making beta or lower end alpha can pop off and threaten to win it, this is going to be that low ink, and I'll get to that later when I get into the top 10. But Outcast Ninjas, it might be time for them to pop off this month if they actually play through. Hyperflow, I don't know what to think of these guys. I've scrimmed against them with my Riptide team, and they look pretty good. And they've been playing in some SOS tournaments and been doing pretty good in those as well. But they haven't been playing in low ink. They keep signing up and keep dropping. So it's like we never actually know how good they actually are compared to other low ink teams. And they keep signing up for SOS and dropping as well. So I don't know. I don't know if they're actually going to play or not. Hopefully they do, because we'll get a good indicator of how good they actually are. They seem like a beta / alpha bracket team. They might be a team that goes really well or goes decently well into Sunday in an alpha bracket as well. I have no idea. They need to actually play. It's so frustrating when a team constantly signs up and then drops. So hopefully we can see these guys play. A team that always plays, and everyone seems to love, the Broken Controller Gaming. A fan favorite, a team everyone and their mom wants to beat for whatever reason. Made beta bracket the last time I saw them in low ink and have been doing pretty well in beta bracket. Might be another opportunity to see them make their first alpha bracket here with the teams we have signed up. Defiance is back. Made beta bracket last month. I have no idea why their name is Defiance, what they're defying. Maybe this is an EU team and they're defying their parents by staying up late and playing at low ink. But this Renegade Rebel team is back in low ink. Good to see them back here. Can somebody tell me what's going on with team name, guys, please? They're signed up here, and I think they're playing, but I think I also saw on Twitter that they were disbanding and they were joking about it, or maybe they weren't. I don't know. Regardless, they are still technically signed up for low ink, at least as far as what I looked at. Maybe they found a way to touch grass. I don't know, but regardless, it's good to see team name, guys, please. A former low ink champion or Little Squid League champion playing in this tournament. After this low ink, team name, guys, please will be on hiatus, is what my sources in chat are telling me. Thank you, Outcast Ninjas. All right. Almost Rising Hope. Not just Rising Hope, but almost Rising Hope. Look, guys, I've said this before. If you have one sub on your team, you're not a pickup. You are your team. This is Rising Hope. If you have two subs, then you're a pickup at that point. But if you're just missing one player and you just got a sub for that, it's still Rising Hope. But at least as far as they're concerned, they're almost Rising Hope. So they should be almost as good as they've traditionally been, which has been upper end of beta, threatening to make alpha bracket. Well, I don't know what to think of Bad Luck Trout just yet. I'm excited to see BLT play. I just don't know how good they actually are. They seem to be pretty good. They played in Flutie and got second place next to Demon Hunters, who Demon Hunters looks really strong. They look a lot stronger than I think what we're giving them credit for, because they've only played in LSL and Flutie. But BLT is the only team we've seen in those two tournaments that actually takes a game away from Demon Hunters. In fact, took them to a game 7. I believe it was 3-4 was the final result there. So how good is BLT? I don't know. I've said this about a lot of teams, but I think it's a fair place to put someone upper end of beta, lower end of alpha. I'm excited to see these guys play. I just don't know. This will be very telling for a lot of things. How good they play will give us a tell of how good Demon Hunters actually are, because those guys don't play low ink. And I guess just how good they are in general, obviously. So a team I'm excited to see. We'll see what they do. Peer pressure. Pop quiz. Who is Peer Pressure? It's Tooniverse. It's my wife's team. They decided to rebrand because they've added a few new players, and they felt like the players they brought in was enough to make them a different-ish team as opposed to what they were back when they were Tooniverse. It's still the same. They inherit the history of Tooniverse. It's like when Sploot Troops rebranded ourselves as Destiny Troops. It's the same team, just a slightly different name. Made Alpha Bracket last month. Be really cool to see them make Alpha Bracket again this month, especially now that they got an extra month of practice in with the revamped roster that they got there. Clownfish is back. Clownfish is one of these teams that has been playing in a ton of low inks for a long time. But they kind of show up like every now and then. They'll play in like a couple low inks, then dip, and then come back for a couple more. This is the second month in a row where they're going to be at low ink. Didn't qualify for Sunday last time, but hopefully now that they've gotten last month to kind of de-rust, they can come out and get back into Sunday this time around. Jelly Squids. The Jelly Squids are back as well. The last time they played in low ink, they made beta brackets, and they got a new roster this time around, picking up Mark, a former agent of CIA. So it's good to see. It's good to see Jelly Squids come back and see them with a different roster. We'll see how good they actually do as well. I forget. When was the last time Amnesia played? in Low Ink. It's been a hot minute. I want to say it was before Ludi. But the last time we saw Amnesia play in Ludi, they did pretty good, winning their Ludi group, going 4-1. Only lost in a game 9 to ITAP. But the other team that finished 4-1 in their group, Tuniverse, aka Peer Pressure now, in Amnesia beat Tuniverse, so Amnesia had the tiebreaker over Tuniverse, so they won their Ludi group in Div 5. Good to see them play here. Hopefully they play all the way through. They signed up late, so we haven't really got to look at their roster completely yet, but it looks to be roughly the same Amnesia team that we saw back in Ludi. Last but certainly not least, my personal favorite team, as you guys know, Inkling Technology at Purdue, aka ITAP, is back here. No, Gaysicle is not off doing another random pickup. Gaysicle is back and ready to go on the official ITAP team, and it's going to be good to see these guys play, because every time we've seen these guys play, they have gotten better in the recent Low Inks. First time they played after a little bit of a Low Ink hiatus, they got, Gamma Bracket, and then last time they got Beta Bracket and did pretty decently well in Beta Bracket. So are they going to be back to that Alpha Bracket status that we knew them before? Who knows? Who cares? I'm just happy to see them play because they're a fun team, and it's always nice to see. Actually, is Gaysicle on this roster? Did he just change his name to Bad instead of Gaysicle? Yeah, whatever. Good to see ITAP back. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, and hopefully my laptop still has enough juice on it to where we can make it through this. This is where I write all my notes. The top 10. Hopefully. All right. Oh, there's one team I wrote down here that I forgot to talk about. The Wiggly Phantoms, my other favorite team. That is actually more favorite than ITAP. I just lied. These guys did, let's kind of break down what they did last month. First off, they got a 3-0 sweep over Nightshade X. And then got dominated by Sirius. Lost to Syntopia. No Bull Squid got a win against them as well. And then Ink in the System technically getting, an upset win there over the Wiggly Phantoms. And then a 2-1 win over Ink Alliance. The Wiggly Phantoms, only 2 wins in Low Ink last month. That's all right. There's always next month. Unless there's not. There you go. Clip that up, Jub. Now, the top 10 is going to be jank. I'm just giving you guys a bit of a warning here. This top 10 is going to be weird. Let's start off by highlighting the teams that are not here. And let me just double check real quick to see if anybody else, before I say something dumb. Squadra Azure has just signed up. It's an Alpha Bracket team, isn't it? Like in the past. I don't think recently, but in the past I feel like. But still. Here are the teams that I'm not going to be talking about because they are not here, that did really well recently in Low Ink or just specifically last month. First off, Sirius is not here. The team that finished in second place 2 months in a row is not here. I saw on Twitter, I think one of their players has like tennis lessons or something. So they're not going to be here this month. So that makes this Low Ink completely wide open on its own. But also, Insurance Agency is not here. The team that finished in third place, Incluminati, is not here. The team that finished in fourth place, Syntopia, is not here. Dark Rain, who is always a contender to win Low Ink every time they sign up, is not here. Game Over, who looked really dominant in the most recent Low Ink, is not here. And just some other teams of note that made Alpha Bracket that are not here. Leg is gone. Booyah X is gone. And I believe that's it. So all of those teams. Of the teams returning this month, the best team returning is Myopsidus, who finished in tied for 5th place. Right? 3, 4. Yeah, they tied for 5th place. That's the best team returning. Everybody is gone. So this is a in all of those teams, if they had signed up for this Low Ink, that would have been your top 10 right there. All those teams I just listed out. But they're not here for a variety of reasons. So because of that, the top 10 is wide the heck open. And you're going to see some teams on here in a very high spot that well, they deserve to be on there, but it's just kind of weird to see them that high. But this is going to be one of those Low Inks. If there's ever been a month where somebody you don't know is going to come in and dominate Low Ink, and then you guys are going to go on Twitter, I've never heard of this team, so they're obviously cheating, and I did all my research, I found out these guys are actually Div 5 players, like Div 3 players. They're smart. Like, no, this is going to be one of those months where Grand Finals is either going to be two teams you've heard of for a long time that have like really struggled in Low Ink but are finally going to get their shot into Grand Finals, or it's going to be two teams that you've never heard of in your life and players we've never heard of before that are just going to come out of nowhere. Saturday's going to be interesting to see who makes Alpha, but I don't think there is a top 10, honestly, this time around. I don't feel, in the team I have at number 1, I feel like is legit the best team signed up right now, but I don't feel crazy confident that that's going to be the team that's going to win, because this tournament's going to be a crapshoot, and it's only going to get more weird as more teams sign up over the course of the day. But if you're wondering why is he not talking about Sirius or all those other teams, well, they're not signed up, they're not playing. Honorable mentions. First off, I got to go with Peer Pressure, aka Tooniverse, making their second. They've made Alpha Bracket 2 times now, but they haven't been doing particularly well when they do make Alpha Bracket. But they did make it last month, and again, like I said, another month with their revamped roster can only lead to good things, but not top 10 worthy just yet. Okay, Woomer deserves an honorable mention. Second place in beta. That's good. I thought of them really highly last month, which is also, I guess that's a bad thing, considering I cursed them. But the reason I can't put them back in the top 10 is they went 3-3 on Saturday and almost fell to Gamma Bracket. So it's hard to win Low Ink when you don't get 5 wins. You need helps. You need help with other things, but getting 3-3 is it's hard to justify and put in a 3-3 team in the top 10, even though OK Woomer is capable of being a team that wins this tournament. I don't know what Cookie Clicker is. Z, that sounds like a trap. Fire Aura, one of these new teams from last month that made Alpha Bracket the first time that they played in it. Didn't do particularly well. No wins on Sunday. But did good enough to qualify for Alpha Bracket, so it's definitely a team that needs to be mentioned here. And last, not least, I don't have like an unofficial number 11 team here, but another team I do want to mention is the Sentinels. I originally had the Sentinels in my top 10, but then I kind of looked at the teams they beat to get into Alpha Bracket, and they weren't incredibly impressive, but still winning those games is good regardless. Getting into Alpha Bracket is something you should be proud of, but I want to see Sentinels do it again before I considered them a top 10 team, especially considering they didn't do crazy well on Sunday. They did beat Tooniverse, but ultimately got eliminated in losers round 2, so keep an eye out for Sentinels. They're definitely a strong team. I just don't think they're top 10 worthy just yet. All right. Let's see how weird we can make this top 10 here. Number 10. Let's put Power Inc. on here. I've been underestimating these guys for a while now. So let's create a reason for them not to get upset with me when I'm surprised at how well they actually do. The first time I was surprised by them is when they 5-0'd on crack a dominant team in Div 7 of Ludi semifinals. Okay, that's cool. The second time I was surprised by them was when they won Beta Bracket in June, beating Tinta Shrimp Tacos, OK Wimmer, and Mahi Mahi Monsoon twice in a bracket reset grand finals after losing to them in winter finals. Okay, this Div 7 team has our attention now. So what are they going to do with it? Will they make Alpha? Will they go 5-1 on Saturday? It's a whole different story when everyone has you on their radar as opposed to being flying underneath the radar, which is what Power Inc. wants to be, and they're going to get that attention because they deserve it. But they are going to be on everyone's radar now, including mine. So we'll see what they do with it. Number 9. No, saucy boy, you're not getting number 9 here. Instead, I feel like there isn't really a reason to keep Kappa off of a top 10 list, regardless of how many teams sign up for this tournament or not. Yeah, they didn't play last month due to dropping for whatever reason, but the last time they did play, they made Alpha Bracket as the Inkstrike Inklings. Yes, they didn't win a game in Alpha, but they did play the champion of that month, the Deep Fried Octolings, and Leg, a fan favorite team, on that Sunday, both of which are not in this tournament this time around. Improvement is being shown again and again every time this team comes out and play. Not playing last month will leave them without extra experience, though, but this team doesn't really need any more experience, in my opinion. Kappa has been a team for a long time in Low Inc., and these players have the synergy necessary to win this tournament, and have been slowly improving with each tourney that they have played in this year, dating back to January in the Minnow Cups and Low Inks that they have participated in as the Inkstrike Inklings. It's just a matter of time for Kappa before they show no signs of slowing down from this slow and steady improvement trajectory that they are on. Number 8. Another team that's been rebranding. Ink Eye has now become Illumini. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Is it a mix of Illuminati and I? So Illumini, I believe, is what they're going with. Regardless, whoever you're announcing their name, this is the first time that I put them on my top 10 list, and I feel like they deserve it. Like the Inkstrike Inklings and Tooniverse and whoever else I'm forgetting, yes, they're in the middle of a rebrand, but dropping the ink from their name and giving commentators something that they're going to trip over whenever they're on stream. This is the same team that has been getting consistent results on Low Ink Saturday, constantly going 4-2. The problem is that sometimes the opponent win percentage doesn't really work out in your favor, and you fall down to beta or alpha, just depending on what works out for you. This time around, they made alpha, but they're not really getting the wins they need on Sunday just yet. But this is a good month to get it going. While the usual monsters are not here, and teams that are teams that they have traditionally kind of struggled against. But I look at the teams that have signed up so far, and I've already talked about some teams that have made Alpha Bracket in the past but haven't really gotten wins. But I just feel like Ink Lumini is a team that has been consistently improving, and that's going to pay dividends for them in this tournament more so than some of the other tournaments that we've seen in Low Ink. Look for Ink Lumini to have a strong Low Ink this month. Number 7. I'm going to go with a wild card right here. A team you guys have probably never heard of and hasn't played in low ink since January. Give me Moonlight Capital. By the way, that is all one word for some, not Moonlight Capital. It's all one word combined into one. My documents tell me that's misspelled, so I don't think that's an actual word that can exist. Now, I know what you're saying. Hoomst? Well, this team from January finished 3-3 and 11th in their Swiss group. Of course, because being in January, there are 4 different groups. And this is the same team that got eliminated in losers round 1 of Gamma bracket in that tournament. So clearly a team I think is top 10 eligible. However, that was 6 months ago, and a lot can change since then. Testing Grounds 22. They finished near the bottom at a 2-3 record. But who are the 2 teams that they beat? Access Denied and Ink Illuminatis. In SOS 36, which saw them take second place in Mako bracket, they lost to Puzzle Moon by a score of 3-4. You could make a case off of just those 2 tournament results alone that Moonlight Capital should be higher than number 7. But a 2-day low ink is a completely different animal from a 1-day, 3-hour tournament. Still, don't be surprised if Moonlight Capital wins this low ink because they've shown that they are capable of it. But until they do better than round 1 of Losers of Gamma, I'm just going to keep them at 7 for now, just to be safe. Number 6. New Rave is back after their first low ink appearance last month, being eliminated in round 2 of Losers. But New Rave, that's going to be a difficult word for me to say. New Rave has some impressive wins last month that some of the other teams I'm leaving off this list that has similar results to them did not. They beat Ink Eye, Fire Aura, Kappa, and had a close 1-2 loss to Game Over. Sure, I just said I will go with veteran team of Ink Illumini when it comes to situations where you're bringing in teams into this top 10 list over teams that are brand new. But there's something to be said about new teams that come out the gate strong. I don't think this will be a situation where we have to wait and see what these guys are about. Was last month a fluke, or is this new standard that they have going forward? And the reason I say that is because they've added a few new players that are kind of impressive, including one from Glistening Waters, a team you may or may not have remembered when I put them in my top 10 a few months ago before they dropped. But I think this new roster will give them the edge they need to go further than round 2 of Losers this time around. Number 5. Sek is Naga finally showed us who they actually are last month, which is a monster. In their first month of eligibility, after being seeded in Div 5 of Ludi, they failed to make Alpha, but got some wins in Beta, then dropped before the June low ink, but finally played all the way through in July and landed in Alpha bracket where I think they deserve to be every single time they play in low ink. But like everyone else here, they don't have many, if any, wins in Alpha bracket. But when you look at the lack of genuine leadership that we have in the middle section of this top 10, Seki deserves to be here because of their experience playing against teams that are at a higher level than them and doing well in Ludi Div 5. And finally making Alpha, these guys are getting better in this low ink tournament. I feel like I've always sounded like a Seki Naga apologist, and maybe that is the case, but I still believe in the power of the Seki, and in the field like this month, there's no reason why you shouldn't be too. Number 4. Finally, it took to the number 4 spot on this list, but we finally got a team that did actually well in Alpha last month. Myopsidus turned a lot of heads last month when their performance, finishing 5th place in Gamma, or alpha bracket and robbed me of all my channel points when they beat Sekiz Naga to start off Sunday. Not bad considering the last time they played in low ink was May, where they went 2-4 on Saturday, not even coming close to making Gamma bracket. And you would think that going 4-2 might have been one of those moments where a team sneaks into alpha and wins with a high opponent win percentage. But they backed up their justification for making alpha bracket with their strong play on Sunday, not only beating Sekiz Naga, but falling Inc. as well. Does the 5th place team deserve to be on a top 10? Of course. Absolutely they do. Did it deserve to be higher? I need to see it happen again. This is going to be one of those months, one of those teams that where they play in the month, the next month it's like, okay, did what you do last time, was that a fluke or is that the new standard? Because Myopsidus has kind of burned us before with how low they've played in other tournaments, or when they were in Div 6 of Ludi and finished 5th in their group. So this will be a statement low ink for Myopsidus, but definitely a team that should be considered a favorite to win it. Number 3. I feel like this is a question I've asked before. What would you rather do? Would you rather win beta bracket or qualify for alpha but get eliminated early on Sunday? Well, the past 2 months, Shiver Me Inklings have done just that since they've become a contender to win this low ink. June was when they went undefeated in their Swiss group, but lost early in alpha. And July is when they fell to beta, but dominated in grand finals, beating OK Woomer in a bracket reset by a combined score of 8-2. Can the Pirates put it all together, though? A strong Saturday and a strong Sunday. They're more than capable of beating anybody, and they don't have to beat everybody. They just have to beat the teams that get fed to them. And 5 wins has to become a standard for them on Saturday. They can't afford to go 4-2 anymore because you need that 5th win to guarantee your spot in the alpha bracket. And if they have taken the lessons they've learned from beta last month and apply it to this month, they will find themselves going deep into alpha bracket on Sunday. And there's no reason not to view Shiver Me Inklings as the next team that grinded their way from the bottom to eventually win this low ink tournament. Number 2. I've always said the most important thing to have in low ink is consistency. And no team has been more consistent from their beginnings than Falling Inc. This team that got placed in Div 8 of Ludi because they didn't really have any results back in April has done nothing but impress in every low-level tournament they've signed up for. Top cut in the low minnow cup that they appearance. In alpha bracket in their only 2 low inks that they played in. So every time they play in a tournament, they finish near the top. Every single time. Success on Sunday has been kind of iffy, though, getting a few wins last month, but ultimately being eliminated losers of round 3. But I see them as being one of those teams that slowly climbs their way up through alpha until it's time to finally win it all. And when you look at a month like this, where some of the teams that are traditionally kind of ahead of them, not here, ultimately that bumps Falling Inc. up from being one of the middle of the pack alpha bracket teams to being a team that you should not be surprised if they are in grand finals of this tournament. And number 1, the team I feel like should be the number 1 team out of everyone that's signed up so far. You know, the Geek Squids used to really love my window analogy. I don't know why, fair enough, but they were big fans of the times that I said, this is a tournament where the window is going to be open for you to win it. But for access denied, this is the window tournament for them. Look at all the teams that are not here and still haven't registered as of this morning, including all the teams they lost to last month. The only teams that beat them last month And none of them are here, and you get the sense that this is going to be one of those tourneys where they will be considered the heavy favorites. I would assume they are looking at the signups and thinking the same thing, which is going to add a lot of unnecessary pressure to them. It's a lot different playing in a tournament when you are the team that literally everybody's gunning for. I've used the phrase before, hunter versus hunted. Everybody is going to be hunting for access denied. But the teams that beat them last month, Syntopia, Hero Fan Club, and Inkluminati, they're not here. So who is going to be considered the favorite in a matchup against them? It's not going to be anybody but access denied. Like Shiver Me Inklings, Inklumini, Kappa, this is one of those teams, one of those grinded out kind of teams, started from the bottom, now they're here kind of teams, worked their way up through Gamma. You remember that time that they failed to ITAP in that Game 7 of Gamma Finals. You remember when they did really well in Beta Bracket. And now they are finally being a consistent Alpha Bracket contender. And this has to be their time. It has to be their time. Because if all those other teams come back next month, it might be a different story. But if there is an opportunity for a team to slip through the window, it is going to be August 2021 for access denied. Now, like I always say, and this is going to really burn me this month because this month is so wide open. If I've said anything today that is wrong, and we're going to find out over the course of the weekend is incorrect, and we find out that there is some team that's going to win low ink that I completely didn't talk about at all today, I always start off my Monday episodes of low ink recaps of the Popcast by issuing apologies when warranted. So don't feel like you got to call me out on it or DM me or anything like that. If you do well over this weekend, you know I will see it and give you the recognition you deserve on Monday. With that being said, if you'd like to be a part of the podcast in any way, feel free to reach out to me at my socials below. Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Discord Popgun, hashtag 5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, anchor.fm/Popgun. We are going to raid who is D. Let's go raid D. Good luck this weekend. If you haven't registered for low ink, you can still do that. But you better not have anything remotely sus about your roster if you're going to wait till now to do it. But hey, we'll take you anyways. We're happy to have you. Unless we're not. Raid. There you go.